out the way.
You're listening to Mature Allure. Here, we chat about self-care, relationships, careers, and all the things living a mature life includes. I'm your host, Sherry O. Welcome. I'm so excited about this. I love your jewelry. I was looking at it. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. So start with you introducing yourself.
Sure. I'm Dana. My company is Dana Faith. I'm the owner and designer. I started my company. Wow, it's been a while. 2003, I was still working at Vera Wang in design. I think at that time I was consulting and I started making jewelry. It was all through my Buddhist practice. It kind of just came up. And yeah, I started making jewelry. I didn't even go to school for it. So that'll be later in your other questions.
Yeah, because we're going to get to that as a whole other career thing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where does your inspiration come from?
Well, my love for nature. I love nature, the ocean. I mean, my opal ring, I'm just inspired by a lot of color, even though I tend to wear a lot of black, but my jewelry is more colorful. I'm inspired by people, my customers, the connection. For me, it's all about the connection. So that's where all my inspiration comes from. One of my lines of jewelry that I did a few years back, and I still make some of the same pieces. It was actually like a freak accident. I'm walking down the street in New York City, and the lines on the grates, they're all just very like straight and perfect. I'm like, ooh, kind of like that reminded me of, it was based on ancient female warriors, this line. And so those lines that I saw on the grates reminded me of our power and our strength. And then the diamonds that I use represent our femininity. So it kind of pulled it all together. So that was kind of interesting. That just happened out of nowhere for me. So,
wow, that's really nice. So what, do you still sell that line, or is that something you sold?
I do. Because my line is it's smaller. So I still have it on my website. People still order them. Yeah, it's the line that's based on ancient female warriors. So you'll see like the ring, it's like the warrior ring, the Razzia ring. Razzia was an ancient female warrior. So I try to name them. I tried to name them based on ancient female warriors. It was interesting.
Nice. It really is. Wow.
Yeah, it was a really nice line.
So share a little bit about what goes into creating a line for you.
Well, for me personally, sometimes I just come up with ideas. Sometimes I'll be even making something and it'll morph into something totally different. And that inspires me. And then I just kind of keep going with it. Normally when I do come up with ideas or like a concept, I'll sketch everything out. So if you want sketches, I have a ton of sketches, just not right on me, but I can always give those to you later. So I have sketches. I'll do that. And then after I sketch and figure it all out, and then I go to the jewelry district. I go to all my people and they work together with me and they help me find all the materials that I need. And then normally I'll come back. I work from my home right now. So yeah, I'm with my kids at home all the time. So it's a little crazy here, but
that's nice.
I know, it's nice.
So when you say you go and you get your materials, are there particular materials that you like working with that you feel represent your creativity and your lines?
Yeah, sure. I mean, normally I love working with like fine jewelry. I didn't start with fine jewelry. I started more with the gold fill, sterling silver. And this is actually from the gold fill line. This is one of my best sellers. We'll talk about that later. I know, the signature heart. But I do love working with solid gold. It's just nicer. And I love working with all the stones, all the pretty colors, rubies, of course, diamonds. That's for my fine line. So, and then the line, the demi fine line, which is not totally fine, gold fill, sterling silver. That I do with all like the semi-precious stones. And what was the rest of that question? Sorry.
I was just asking if you had particular materials that you like to use, and you answered it mostly with the fines, because you do a lot of fine jewelry.
I like it, and I work a lot with my hands. So when I am working with the fine metal, I have to be extra careful anyway. But I do a lot of hand wire work. That tends to more be the gold fill More people just order the gold fill when I do the hand twisted jewelry, the hearts, the names, and that's easier because it's a little softer also to use. Yeah.
I was going to ask with when you were saying with the fill or the wire fill, is that what
Gold
that's
fill.
what you call it, gold
Gold
fill? Let's talk about the mommy daughter collection. We might as well because I think it's so beautiful. I love how big it is. Because a lot of times you see the smaller hearts.
Yeah, so this is the large heart. I'm out of frame, but yes, this lands like at 27 inches. Excuse my finger. I slammed my finger in the door on my birthday and now it's black and
Okay.
blue. Don't mind that. Yeah, so this is 27 inches long. These are all made by hand by me, actually. I don't have anybody else making them. It's a little insane, yeah. So I have to figure that out. I'm very particular, especially with the hearts. I had some people helping me at one point. It just didn't really work out. So right now I'm just doing them on my own because I make the frame by hand and then I go in and wire. So no two pieces ever come out the same. That's what's so beautiful about the piece. That's why it's my bestseller. That's why women love it. They see that nobody else has the same heart as them.
That's amazing. Because
Each
I
are
was going
different.
to
No
ask.
two ever come out the same. The shape,
See,
the wiring, it's how we are. Like we might look identical, but there's always something different that sets us apart. An eyebrow, whatever it is. So,
exactly. I love that. I
and then
love that.
so I started doing that first, and then other, then my customers would buy for their daughters. They wanted the little hearts, so I started making the little hearts. And then I was like, oh, that should be the mommy knee, and my daughter, would wear it, and we do our little videos together. And so that's kind of how the mommy daughter started. And the moms would buy for their daughters, some of their daughters that are in their 20s, some that are 8 or 9 years old. It just depends. The small heart could be for, women buy that heart as well. So but it's
Exactly.
special. No two people will ever have the same heart ever. So
It's
yeah,
beautiful. That's good
they
to
love that.
know.
My customers love that. They do. They
So
appreciate.
since it's custom made,
Yeah.
since it's custom made, you do it by order? And like by
Yes. I
order,
mean,
how long does it take?
sometimes I'll have a few pieces in stock, especially if I have shows coming up. But most of my pieces, like I have an order right now, I'm in the middle of making it. So, it could take, if I sit there and don't get up, it'll take 3 hours. It's a long time. That's why I don't have manicured fingers because my nails are always getting messed up. But yeah, or I'll take my time and do it over a few days. And then they'll get it. But no one, unless something's already made, mostly my pieces will take up to 2 weeks. Just to like be done. I always say 2 weeks. It could be 1 week. The fine jewelry, depending on the piece, could take up to 3. Custom made could take a month. It just depends.
Okay. Okay. That sounds, I mean, that's not even long. I was thinking it would take longer than that.
Yeah, I know.
So
I think because I've also gotten so used to it, and I really know how to do it the right way and not to pull too hard to bend the frame. And the silver is a little different because the silver is even softer than the gold fill, so that sometimes you have to be really careful with. So that could take a little longer.
wow, that's so amazing. Just hearing your process is crazy.
Yeah, it is
So
crazy.
I had it on my notes, meaningful, sustainable jewelry. What exactly is that?
It's funny because I think everybody uses that name now. It's very trendy, like meaning sustainable. All my metal, it's all recycled, and I guarantee mostly everybody that says theirs is sustainable, meaningful. It's all the gold is recycled, especially the gold that I get. So that I love. My supplier, it's all recycled, but I do think a lot of it is all recycled jewelry, gold, because gold is so hard to get, to find. It's expensive, so a lot of it's recycled. Um, it lasts a long time. It's all made here in NYC, New York City. All my pieces are handmade. Nothing's made overseas. Nothing's made by, factories anywhere else. It's all people's fingers, my fingers, so, and it's also meaningful. A lot of my jewelry, like even the heart has meaning. Women love that it's theirs. It represents themselves. I do a lot of different sayings. Someone was needing hope. She's like, can you please make me something with hope? Can you make something that represents my dog that died? Like, I mean, I get this all the time. So, and they come to me, and I love that. And I think it's lovely. Like, I love working with my customers, and I just love making them happy.
It's so funny that you say that because I had a necklace that I bought. It was nothing. It wasn't anything. I just got it out of a shop and it said breathe on it.
Oh
And
my
I
God, really?
loved that necklace and it broke
Oh,
again. So I was like,
jewelry does break very easily,
I,
especially if it's handmade, unfortunately. But
yes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to you about getting one in gold that just says breathe. Just,
that's what I do. So many
you know,
women buy my breathe necklace. It's crazy. Just
that.
breathe. And I have to tell myself that all the time. Just breathe.
Me too.
Have to breathe. I'm a nervous wreck all the time. So I have to breathe. You forget because breathing
Yeah.
really works.
Yeah.
It
Because
really helps.
I find myself like all the time and I'm talking and like, let's bring it down, fill it out,
Breathe. Yeah.
breathe. Yeah. So you and I will talk.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. For sure.
so tell me about the Blessing jewelry collection
Yeah.
and your collaboration.
Yeah, with Michaela, sorry, with Michaela, we actually met in a mommy group. So my daughter's now 8, but our girls were not even 1 yet when we met. Yeah, so that's how we met, and just having play dates, and over time, she loved my jewelry, and she already had her I hope I'm pronouncing that right, line of Judaica pieces. So she actually, all her pieces are all handcrafted by women, artisans in Mexico. Her husband's Mexican. Yeah. So they know a whole local community, and the women are treated, obviously very well. And it brings them together. It's a community. It's wonderful. And it brings them work as well. So it's really beautiful. And so I don't know if you're familiar with challah. In Judaism, we have challah, Shabbat every Friday night. My nanny, who was my grandma, we called her nanny. She'd make challah fresh every night, and that's what most practicing Jewish people do. They make challah every Friday night. I don't, but it's wonderful. And she makes these challah covers, and they all have like the sayings on top, whatever. I'm not sure if they're all the same saying or it's all in Hebrew. And it's all hand stitched and hand woven, and it's amazing. And so she came to me knowing that I make hand jewelry, everything done by hand. So, well, most of my pieces, yes, by hand. So she said, why don't we create a line of jewelry that have the Jewish words that have the meaning? So emet, E-M-E-T, that means truth. Or, O-R, that means light. Shalom means peace. All these different words. And so I said, why not? And she asked me first, can I do them in the actual Hebrew lettering? That's just very hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could figure it out, but some of it's so different. Especially in gold fill, it doesn't get heated. It's all just done by hand by me. So I'm doing it in English letters, but it's still in the Hebrew words. And that's been doing very, very well. And yeah, we're going to see where that's going to take us going forward. We're trying to see what to do next. So it's still on the side, but yeah, it's really, the women love it. They just love it. It's beautiful. And then they, sometimes again, they'll have their daughters' names, or they'll ask us to do a different Hebrew word.
It's beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's see. I think you kind of talked about a little bit, if somebody were like how long the process takes you, but if you can kind of expound a little bit on, like, if somebody were to contact you, what would be the process for getting a custom piece done?
Absolutely. I mean, a custom piece, I would always tell them it's never going to be less than 4 weeks, just because, I always have to sketch. I'll sketch out first just to make sure, so they can see. And like this, everything's on Zoom or email. So sketching is really important because you're not normally one-on-one anymore. So yeah, I'll sketch it out. Then she'll come back to me, he or she, they'll come back to me and say, you know what, I think I like this, but can you do it like this? Da, da, da. And it goes back and forth. That could be a whole week, just depending on each other's schedules. And then once we come to the agreement of what it's going to be, then I go source my material. I'll start the process. Most likely for the custom pieces, I'll have to take it to my jeweler after I do the initial work, and then they'll solder and heat it together. They'll set the diamonds, and all my diamonds, each piece is hand drilled. So none of that is done on the computer. Very few times. I very rarely use CAD. The CAD work is when it's done on the computer. It's not done by hand, and it comes out in the mold, which is still really nice. But that's sometimes, because sometimes customers want things I just can't make myself. Like I'm good, but sometimes I'm like, I'm not a magician. So I ask them if it's okay, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind that. I just prefer to make things by hand. But if we have to do it on the computer, we'll do it on the computer, and it comes out totally perfect. My jewelry, when I make it by hand, nothing's ever perfect because it's handmade. But it depends on the customer and what they want. So if they want it perfect on CAD, I'm fine with that. It's perfect. And then after that, so if it's done in CAD, and then you have to wait for the wax, they have to make the mold and then the wax, and then you approve the wax, and then it's made into metal. And then once made into metal, it has to be pre-polished, then polished, and then all the diamond work, setting, and blah, blah, blah. That could take time. So I always say 4 weeks. It could be less, it could be more. I just did a horseshoe for a customer. That went back and forth for a while. We were trying to figure out what metals to use together, what would work best. I hand carved it, the horseshoe by hand. That took me 3 tries because I'm kind of a perfectionist, even though it's never going to be perfect. But I did it 3 times, and it finally, I think she likes it. I hope so. But yeah,
I'm sure.
That took some time. That's on one of
Yeah.
my Instagram videos. You see me like filing and carving, and yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think what you do is so amazing and creative because I wouldn't even know where to begin. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
I know what you mean. Like I'll look at someone that makes furniture by hand, or like wooden furniture, or anything, and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you, even architects? For me, that's like gibberish. But I don't know. I mean, I was always in fashion. My mom taught me how to sew growing up. She taught me hook a rug. She taught me like everything creative. And I didn't mention this yet, but also my inspiration comes from my grandfather. He was a jeweler. And that it's almost like, I don't know, because it's in my blood. Jewelry was never my thing from the beginning. It was always fashion. And then I started working with Vera Wang, and it was just like being in the fashion industry. It was incredible, crazy. And then I'm Jewish, but also through my Buddhist practice, I practice Buddhism. Jewelry came up, and I thought of my grandfather, and I'm like, where did this come from? It was kind of weird. And I just started making jewelry, and all the girls at Vera Wang were like, ooh, they loved it. They started buying it. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. But I think it's somewhere in my blood. Me and my grandfather are connected in that way. I guess I take after him. But
absolutely.
he would make the links on the chain by hand.
Wow.
Yes, he made each piece by hand. So that, and I didn't learn how to make jewelry. I just started like teaching myself. I can't solder like he did. It's a bench work. I can't do that. But so a lot
You
of
have it in you. You definitely have it in
I
you.
have it in me. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know. That's the funny
absolutely.
thing. I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And see, it just kind of came around. Even though
Yeah.
you were in fashion, it just kind of came around. And this was
Hit me in the face,
obviously.
and I was like, because I chant Nam Yoho Renge Kyo,
Mhm,
and while I
mhm.
was chanting, it literally just whoop, it popped in my head, and I was like, oh, I can incorporate that with fashion somehow. But it just stayed with it. It's jewelry.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, and I told him at his later years, he was in his late 90s, and he's like, are you sure? Are you sure that's what you want to do? And I'm like, yeah. And I showed him some pieces, and he thought they were beautiful. I mean, they weren't even the fine pieces, but he was so sweet. But he was
Yeah,
amazing. Well, that's a whole other story with him. We could do
yeah,
a
I'm
whole
sure.
podcast on his life. Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing. When I come, I'm supposed to be coming at the end of March. Well, I am coming at the
Oh,
end of
where are
March
you
to New
right
York.
now? In Atlanta?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So it would be great if you could come back because that's when Angelica and I are going to come together and
Okay.
sit and talk. This is Zoom. This is for the blog to kind of get us going and rolling and
Yeah.
social and all of that. So
If
it would be great if you could come hang out with us. She's
you
trying to hook up a
want me
studio.
there, I'll come.
Yes, yes, she's trying to hook up a studio. So it would be really, really good if you could come
Amazing.
through and we can chat stories.
Yeah.
So that
Angelica's
would,
amazing. She's
oh,
amazing.
I love her. I've known her long, long, long time.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, we met this. She was modeling. I was writing for a magazine.
Oh, how
So
cool.
she was in one of the, and then fashion shows, I would have to go and do the stories for. She would be in them. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we
Yeah.
met. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, so it's been probably over 25 years, 27, 28 years. Yeah, it's been a
oh,
while.
that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a
That's
while.
amazing.
So now we've come together. I'm excited. We're excited. Okay, so let me keep going
Okay, keep
because
going, keep going.
let's do this one. Do you have any tips or suggestions for the type of jewelry people should be considering as they mature, as they get older?
Yes, I read that question and I think, fuck it. Excuse my French. Like, seriously, fuck it. Who gives a shit? The Jersey girl in me is coming out. You know what I mean? It's like, come
But
on.
I agree. I agree, but I wasn't, sometimes people think,
That's
because I've
my
heard this,
opinion. Some people are like, no, you need to, step it down, take it down a notch. No, why? Why?
with me, with jewelry, I think, like I see women as you get older, you see these women in clunky pieces
Well,
and
I mean,
their
listen,
style. If that's a
there's
style,
different levels of jewelry. I mean, there's certain types of jewelry I wouldn't consider for people,
yeah,
anybody. But if you're gonna go and you want to like, be on trend and buy some of the I personally don't make the big jewelry, but sometimes that's nice having like a bold statement piece, and some big earrings. Who cares? You don't have to overdo it. I'm not the matchy type. So my mom is a little more, but not with her jewelry though. But like, you don't have to buy the huge matching turquoise drops with the big turquoise jewelry and then the big turquoise ring. No, you can have one beautiful statement piece. You don't have to overdo it.
I agree.
That don't overdo it. But you don't have to like feel like, oh, I have to be a certain, it's not like you're wearing, a high skirt and a low cut dress and then the jewelry on top of it. Of course you want to look appropriate, but I'm I sell these to 80-year-old women and I sell these to 20-year-olds. So it's like, who cares? You want to wear a heart? Go for it. You want to wear, something bigger over here? I'm all for it.
Me
Yeah.
too. I agree. I agree.
Especially,
Um,
sorry to interrupt, but especially nowadays, it's like, this whole woke moment and women like Paulina Parskova, like God bless her, I love her, and anyone that has anything to say bad about her, I don't understand. Leave
yeah,
her alone. She's freaking gorgeous. First of all,
yes,
haters are haters, but it's like, come on. I mean, look at her. Like she's wearing these two-piece. Yeah, she can, of course. Her
yep,
genes, her obviously she has this in her DNA, but why shouldn't she be wearing a two-piece bikini? Like, give me a break.
exactly. And that's the thing. I think another reason why Angelica and I
So
are doing this
frustrating.
is because people want to box women in the older they get,
Mhm.
like into whatever this thing was, maybe in the 50s, I don't know.
Yeah, but we're
But
not there
people are
anymore.
so different now. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like not
I
like that.
know. I'm glad you
Yeah,
asked me that question because I feel really strong about that.
I agree. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into this. The last question on the
Yeah.
list. If someone were to get or want to move into a new career or a second career in jewelry design, or what are your suggestions? What are the steps?
Good question. I didn't go to school for jewelry. I mean, I did go to school for fashion, but not jewelry. Please take some classes. I wish I took some classes. I wish I could sit at a bench and solder whenever I watch my jewelers doing it. Like, I just want to like grab it and try to do it. I mean, I don't have the time to do everything, but take some classes, get to understand. Because also when I got into jewelry, I had no idea about anything. I was, in fashion and clothing, and I didn't know much about, even though my grandfather was a jeweler, but I didn't know much about jewelry. I mean, I watched him do a few things here and there, but not. So I would definitely suggest take classes, understand different metals, understand exactly what you're working with, 14 karat gold. What's 10 karat gold, 22 karat gold, silver, gold, all of that, brass. I don't know half of those things. I've been learning and learning and learning as I go. And sometimes it's a little uncomfortable not knowing, everything. So I would say take some classes, and I would definitely say intern or start just like at a low paying, assistant, be an assistant to a jeweler, or work in a jewelry store, or work for a jewelry designer in their showroom or in their factory, anything, just to get hands-on experience. When I worked at Vera Wang, I mean, that was my major thing. So that's why I keep saying Vera Wang. She's also my mentor. She doesn't know it, but she set the bar for me, for sure.
That's amazing.
And
I mean, love Vera Wang. So that's,
oh my God. And it's been so many years. I'm like, she even remember me. She might. No, she does. But it's been a long time. But I started interning there, and the amount of knowledge that I gained just from interning, you learn from school. And I say learn because, learning how to solder, learning the materials and the different stones, I wish I did know. But get your foot in the door, get your feet wet, like get in there, even if it's interning, even if you're not even making money at first, because you're going to learn so much. Yeah. And that's and you have to love it. Don't do it because you think it's cool or trendy. You have to love it and really enjoy making things. I actually like to make things and just sitting there and making things. I don't know why. I just do.
See, I would think that because that takes a lot of time too. So
it takes a lot of time. I mean, yes, it's not the easiest business in the world, and it's hard, but that's what I would say. Just make sure you love it, because you don't want to start, once you start hating something, you're just, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I think that that's across the board, because everything you do, you kind of have to love, because it all takes time. So even this, it's like, oh my goodness, the time that I put into, it's just like, okay, Sherry, what are you doing?
Yeah.
At the same time, like my husband will see me and he's like, okay, this is definitely what you were meant to do. Because I mean, I did it years ago when I worked for beauty magazines and stuff like that. And I'm like, let me just come back to what's me and what I do. But anyway.
I love that. I think that's great. I'm so happy. That's great.
Yes. Yeah. So real quick before we go.
Yeah, sure.
If you could most people know the difference between costume and fine, but just kind of talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, costume jewelry can range. I don't consider my my lower price point jewelry costume, because I think costume is more brass. Even I use plated, but some plated pieces have brass under it, and then your finger can turn green a little. It's fine. It's a much lower price point, and there's nothing wrong with it, because a lot of people that might not be able to afford even the demi fine, get the costume. It's amazing, but it's not gonna last as long. It's probably not soldered. Pieces might come apart. And costume jewelry also, to me, when I think costume, I just think more fun, bigger, bolder pieces. And fine jewelry, I do feel more refined, more delicate, more handmade. A lot more time goes into it. Solid gold, that's fine jewelry. Solid gold. I mean, 14 karat to 24 karat. A lot of people don't work with 24 karat because it's so pure and so soft. It can bend and melt. That's why 14 is mixed with a few different other metals. Gold fill, I love working with gold fill. And a lot of my customers, that's their price point, will go for the gold fill over the fine jewelry. It's a huge difference. But the beautiful thing about gold fill is that it's made with like 10% of solid gold. So this has a percentage, very small percentage, but it's in there, and it never turns. It'll never turn your skin green. It might like tarnish a little over time, but it'll never not be a little yellow. So
nice.
Yeah. And I do work with gold plated, but sometimes, the plating comes off. There's a few different types of plating. And if you do like the micron plating and higher, it tends to last a lot longer, but it's much more expensive.
Okay.
So I hope that was that.
It does. It does. That definitely helps.
Silver could also be costume jewelry. It just depends. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can have silver, mass produced silver, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Nor should you.
No.
You stick with the fine.
What I like, and
That's so
I really appreciate this. This is great. It's been an awesome conversation.
cute. I'm so
And
happy
I,
to meet you. And I'm sorry I missed all your calls. I'm with my son a lot and I'm like, oh my
okay.
God.
It's okay. I understand. In the back and forth, it's fine. Email is great. And I look forward to meeting you when I come.
Oh,
Also, I will be getting me a wreath necklace to replace my, I guess
your
it's
other
costume. I don't know what it was. It's
It's
been
okay.
great, Dana.
Oh my
Thank
God. Just
you.
know jewelry does break. It happens, but we always fix it. I'll always fix
Okay.
it. You'll never
Okay.
pay for fixing jewelry. So, but it happens, But
Yeah.
yeah, it was so lovely meeting you. You're wonderful. I'm so happy you're the face I got to talk to. You seem very, very nice. So I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mature Allure. For more information about us, visit matureallure.net and get social with us on Instagram and YouTube at mature.allure, Facebook at @formatureallure, and Twitter at mature_allure. Till next time, we encourage you to stay positive, embrace who you are at every stage of your life, and always tap into your mature allure.
It's my time.